award scheme at the IOD, and I met him there and his wife.
I've warmed to Princess Anne. I have.
Okay.
I think, in the 70s she was having a bad press, but she's done so much good work. I think about taking part in the Olympics and her work for charities, and I think the press now portray her in a different light. I don't know, but perhaps she's matured.
Well, yes, perhaps she has. Of course. You mentioned, as you will, that she was a subject of an assassination attempt many years ago when her car was attacked in the Mall.
Yes.
In the Mall. And that was, they say, Mark Phillips, her then husband's finest moment, when he spread himself over her to protect her or whatever. But she does have, she has children. Peter Phillips
Zara.
came very close to playing rugby for Scotland. He may well have played schoolboy rugby for Scotland. He was regarded as quite a prospect.
Oh, wow. And obviously, Keith, you said Zara as well.
Yes.
Who has a rugby link as well.
I've been fortunate to see the Royals on several occasions, and sometimes Anne can be quite resplendent. I remember in different weddings. I remember Andrew's wedding in particular. She was she stood out. I was there I wasn't in the church, but I was one of the many watching the parade, and she stood out. She was smiling, and so I like to think that despite the bad press that she used to have, that she's come through with winning colours.
So obviously what we're talking about today is the fact she was given the title Princess Royal. Like I said, there's only ever been 7 Princesses Royals. Queen Elizabeth II never actually held the title, as her aunt, Princess Mary, had the title. So you can't have multiple Princess Royals if there's another one, which is very interesting. But how do you feel about these multiple titles, Robert, with, obviously, is it still something we need?
What,
within the monarchy, these different names and titles for people?
Well, they go with the tradition, don't they?
Yes.
Princess Mary, I believe, you mentioned here, was the Queen's aunt.
Yes.
And
she was the previous Princess
sister of the sister of King George the Sixth.
Yes.
Or George V, the Queen's father, I beg your pardon.
It's interesting now, though, isn't it? Because I think Anne is 10th in line now. I remember when she was second in line. And I think things are changing as well, because of they've changed the law. They're changing it regarding male-female heirs. That used to be always the male and the line. But apparently she is...
You're not worried about the order of succession, Keith, I hope, are you?
Long way down the line.
You think it might come to Dunvant, do you?
I think that film King Ralph, he was there. They were,
I can see hot-footing it out to Somerset House.
The Duke of Dunvant.
Moving on, we're going to go to 1922, and the longest attack of hiccups began. So Charlie Osborne started getting hiccups on this day, and they continued for 68 years.
Good grief.
Gosh.
You want to...
He must have drank a lot of water in that time.
That's a form of getting more oxygen in there, wasn't it? So
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
is it?
Yeah, it is. There's something to do with it. It is.
Did anyone try frightening him? Because that's the way they say to get rid of him.
There's multiple old wives' tales, aren't there? So drink water upside down, I remember. Hold your breath. Be frightened.
Holding your breath for 68 years.
Any tips?
Any tips, Robert? Are you prone to get hiccups or not?
Yes, after several pints, perhaps, but not normally.
The interesting thing about this is when he finally stopped having the hiccups, he actually died 11 months after. So I wonder if the hiccups were actually preserving his life in some way. Very interesting. Yeah. In the final moments, 1966, the Miranda rights were established, and obviously they are what we all know, that what the police say as they're arresting someone in the United States. So you have the right to remain silent, and very interesting. Yeah. Some good ones today. 323 as well. Alexander the Great dies. So for all the historians out there, It's a big
You'd hardly
day.
call that current news, but it's of historical interest, I'm sure.
Well, thank you both for joining us.
Next, we're going to be keeping both Robert and Keith with us, and we'll be looking at the papers.
I'm excited for it. It's going to be a good one today.
It is.
We'll see you in a minute.
See you then. Welcome back to Today on BayTV. I'm Liz Cairns, and with me is Henry Darby-Cook, and Robert Llewelyn-Jones and Keith Milward have both stayed with us.
So what's happening in today's papers, Liz?
Well, the front pages have all taken over with the Prime Minister and her U-turn, but of an apology this time.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yes, the Sun is saying, mess, Prime Minister. Now, we've spoken, Robert, about this earlier, and I know you have your views on it.
Well, it is a mess, Prime Minister, yes. And I think it's the their headline is May's mea culpa, which presupposes that their readers have a knowledge of Latin, which is a very bold assumption. Perhaps they've got better Latin than they have Greek. But anyway, it's such a... Well, I don't know. I feel sorry for... we have here a local MP, Byron Davis in the Gower. We had his successor here on the sofa last week, Miss Antoniazzi, who won the seat from him. And the Prime Minister has apologised to all those who have lost their seats, which is, of course, scant consolation, isn't it? If you're an MP, prior to the election, you were there sipping the wine of power, shall we say, and today you're treading the grapes of wrath. And what can you say?
But they were saying there was a pause in this, wasn't it? That she should have apologised earlier than she did. That was I realised that was being said on the day after the election. Yeah, you know, that she should have, but that wasn't said in the initial speech.
Well, I think Osborne, whether it wasn't an original statement where he called her on Sunday morning on one of the shows, I think it was Peston's show, a dead woman walking.
Is that? Do you think that's the truth, Robert? Are we just waiting?
I don't know about. I don't know.
Are we counting the days for her resignation?
Well, she's months, perhaps.
Okay.
Or even until the end of the Brexit negotiation, which will coincide with the end of her term of office anyway. But I don't know. Politics is such a divisive, isn't it, business to be in, and who knows?
Do you think now the coalition with the DUP is going to hamper anything with her as well? The way the public have responded?
Well... You seem to be, how can I say, uneasy about that alliance.
I think most people are, aren't they?
Well,
I mean, on that kind of Friday morning, the DUP's website went down because so many people were Googling it, because we just didn't know they existed really in this country from what it sounds like. And, you know, some of their policies, I think, are quite worrying to, you know, the British people.
Well, they are not, shall we say, as liberal, Keith, as perhaps we would like, you know, to be. Perhaps they're rooted somewhere in the past. I mean, the fact that they were Ian Paisley's party, I believe.
They were, yeah.
Well, you know, that says a lot, doesn't it? But there we are. What would you like Mrs. May to go into coalition with Sinn Féin, for example? And then we've got the IRA somewhere in the background. So I don't know.
You didn't have enough seats.
What can you say, isn't it? Another election?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things people are saying. People are calling for another referendum, another election. Obviously, there's a lot of whispers about Boris Johnson possibly stepping up to the plate.
Well, the election, the election and the referendum. Well, as you know, I've said here, I voted to remain simply because my home is in Port Talbot, and Port Talbot is dependent as a community on the works and the jobs that are created. Now, if Brexit meant that there was a threat to those jobs, well, naturally, I would wish to. I don't want to see that, and yet you see the town voted to leave.
Did they understand it really, though? This is it.
Was it the economic argument that people everywhere took into account, or was it the fact that they were frightened by the immigration situation, and that's really what they were voting for, an end to immigration. And you hear these horrendous stories about what's happening in France, fires being built to stop lorries so people can... I think, you know,
I'm hoping for a second referendum. You know, I think that a lot of people have their eyes opened now. It's becoming more clear regarding the economy. It's the economy that I want to stress. And it's quite a worrying time altogether.
Nothing's certain, is it?
No,
I don't think at the moment.
I think it'd be more fair now because people actually understand more about it.
Yes. But that's my bottom line. I'm very much a Remainer. I see myself as Welsh. I see myself as British. I see myself as part of the European Union. So, yes, we can but hope. It looks closer to that, though, than it did a few days ago, that there could possibly be a referendum, or at least it's a softer Brexit now, because it was going to be very much a hard Brexit before last Thursday's election.
Well, the government, the Welsh Assembly government, of course, are for the best deal for Wales. And the best deal for Wales, in their opinion, is that we have a soft Brexit. And all that's involved with that. Well, I suppose we all want what's best for Wales, don't we? And
maybe a deal similar to the Scandinavian countries.
Well, there are countries that are outside who have this relationship with Europe, which we would be seeking were we to have a hard Brexit. But who knows? For some reason or other, I can't see the Germans and the French doing us any favours.
And yes, it's important to them to trade with us as it is with us to them.
Yeah. Well, they would have the upper. They're in the box seat, aren't they?
Very interesting times.
The negotiations. And I'm afraid it is a very uncertain time. As the pound, if you want to know how uncertain the times are, just look at what's happening with on the foreign exchange markets and where the pound sits
already.
In all this.
Already.
Yes, and incidentally, figures out today show that the cost of living has risen since the result of the referendum, because money that's used in foreign exchange is buying less. So, what we
the
do?
flip side of this, obviously, is that Labour did lose. They're not in power. And where do they go? I mean, to them, it was a success. I think Jeremy Corbyn feels it was a success. But what is the next step for the Labour Party and Jeremy Corbyn?
Well, he ran a very good campaign, didn't he? He ran a very good campaign. He garnered the votes of the young people. Where does he go? Yes, that's a good question. To where he was before, I suppose, to what he has achieved. And hopefully those voters who came away from UKIP, and it was presupposed that they would flock to the Conservative banner, and they didn't. Now, whether those people would come back to vote for the Conservative Party, well, who can say?
I mean, obviously, it was no secret that a lot of the Labour Party weren't behind Jeremy Corbyn. Do you think they've had a change of heart with his successful campaign?
Well, what would you say, Keith?
Well, I would say yes. I think there is a change of heart, and some didn't see him very much as a strong leader, but they are doffing their cap to him that he's done a good job over this election.
Well, they saw him as unelectable. Well, suddenly now those dissident, shall we say, Labour MPs have now perhaps reassessed their situation and perhaps realised that if there could be an opportunity for Corbyn to win an election, well, they would like to be in on that. Whether, of course, he would or not is another matter.
Do you think, though, his strength obviously is as the forefront of a campaign leader, but then Prime Minister's completely different.
Well, the Prime Minister had a disastrous campaign. This is the result of it. I mean, Corbyn delighted in going out, meeting people, shaking hands. You know, Theresa May didn't even appear on television.
So then we're definitely going to be talking about more in the coming days.
I think so.
Stay with us.
So much.
Keith is. See you in a minute. Welcome back to Today on BayTV. I'm Henry Darby-Cook. Next to me is Liz Cairns. Keith Milward still with us.
So what have you been up to then, Keith, the weekend?
Oh, this weekend. Oh, I've had a super weekend in London again. I went to Regent's Park on 2 occasions. One, I went to the zoo, and they didn't keep me there. I'd be quite happy amongst the apes, I'm sure. But no, I also went to Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, which I love to do each summer. Last year, they had a winning show with Jesus Christ Superstar that they're repeating later in the season. Right. But I saw On the Town, starring Danny Mac of Strictly Come Dancing. But what a fantastic show. And I have managed to find a trailer to show you all how good the show is.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Let's have a little look.
We'll find the romance and danger waiting in it. Beneath the Broadway lights, where we've hair on our chests. So what we like the best of the nights. Sunlight nights. New York, New York, a hell of a town. The Bronx seats up, but the battery's down. The people riding a hole in the ground. New York, New York. It's a hell of a town.
Oh, wow. I've always loved this as a show, but this current production is the very best. They've given like the Guys and Dolls treatment to it, I suppose. And to see the show in the open air in Regent's Park, it is actually completely in the open air. Nobody's covered. So the actors, you know, it's under the night sky, and it was just glorious. We were lucky with the weather as well on Saturday. Oh, yes. You know, and this theatre, it's about 800 or more that can be seated there, you know, so that was great. And talk about Danny Mac. Have you heard the news? Have you heard the big news of Swansea? The biggest show is coming to Swansea, courtesy of Rhea Jones, and it's Sunset Boulevard. Right. She's managed to twist the arms of the producers of the show. It's starting in the Curve in Leicester, and it's coming around the country. And you'll remember that last year she stood in for Glenn Close in the West End, and Glenn Close became ill. And, of course, it was announced to the audience that Rhea was standing in, and they weren't booing the fact that Rhea was playing, but they were booing the fact that they weren't going to see Glenn Close. Some people were shouting, let's have our money back. And then Rhea went out and wowed them. And we've all been envious of those people who saw Rhea, because she really did make such an impact. Of course, she's been in many shows. She's done loads of concerts and reviews in the Grand Theatre. But she hasn't been in a musical theatre piece for about 30 years there. And last time she was there in a musical theatre piece, she was Dorothy Gale in The Wizard of Oz. And guess who was the Wizard of Oz? What? Yes. But so it's very special for me to see Rhea coming back. But for us all, so I know the tickets are already on sale, and that's going to be in October. So that's the 16th to the 21st of October in the Grand Theatre. But this week there's lots going on there. There's 2 literary greats being celebrated in the Grand Theatre, courtesy of Llewelyn Theatre. And on the 14th, we have Jane, that's Jane Austen then. And also on the 15th is Mr. Dickens, or Charles Dickens, being celebrated by Peter Richards, director, actor at the Arts Theatre, at the Arts Wing of the Grand Theatre. And on Saturday night is the Corrie Band, starring some of of our favourites in South Wales, Di Botcher and Craig Gallivan, and also Wyn Evans of the Go Compare advert. You know, so he's there, tremendous singer, of course. You know, so there's lots going on in the Grand, and this weekend, of course, is the Jazz. It's Swansea Jazz Festival. Dave Cottle has got the act back together, and there's some tremendous jazz to be seen in the maritime area of Swansea. I believe there's a trailer for that as well.
Let's have a little look. Wow.
Well, some wonderful music going to be there. We're all singing and dancing in the gallery as well as here. We're singing along. But for me, Ruby Turner, that's what I can't wait for her. I've got my tickets to see her on Saturday. And of course, Joe Stilgo is known in London and at the jazz venues. But I know that he took part in High Society 2 years ago in London. He was just great. Yeah. And of course, the musicians from Earth, Wind and Fire.
Really?
You know, so coming here to Swansea, as I say, putting Swansea very much on the map for jazz. It's the fourth time, you know. Yeah. Big job to get this together, I'm sure. He keeps pulling it out of the bag.
And it is great because, like you said, it's all in the marina.
Yes.
Well, I mean, BayTV covered it last year, so me and a couple of the guys, we were like filming it. And it's one of those things where I kind of thought I would never have an interest in it. Yeah. And it was so good. And the live music and just the atmosphere and everything was just so amazing.
That's right.
And it's just a great
Some people think it's a particular sound, jazz, but it really encompasses so much, so many genres then, isn't it? Because, as I said, Ruby Turner, Earth, Wind and Fire, people don't always think jazz, you know. No, so, but great. And in Neath, Hairspray playing this week from tonight, that's way until Saturday. That's with Stage 8 Productions. And in Cardiff, Not Dead Enough, at the New Theatre. It's Peter James' play, the very good, these thriller chillers. So
they're really popular at the moment, aren't they?
Very, very popular. And we can't wait for next week in Swansea because we've got Gareth Gates and Maureen Nolan in Footloose. And I have prepared a film of that if there's enough time.
Let's have a little look.
Gotta cut loose. Kick off your Sunday shoes. Please, Louise, pull me off of my knees. Jack, get back. Come on before we crack. Lose your lose. Everybody cut footloose.
We were at it again, dancing along. We don't need any encouragement at all, do we? Oh, tremendous. You know.
And of course, the stars of that will be in on BayTV next week.
They're going to be sitting on this bench, won't they, next week? So both Maureen Nolan and Gareth Gates are going to be here. So that's a must. So we've got to listen in for that.
Definitely.
Yes, you know. And
it's a favourite, isn't it? Footloose.
Oh, yes. I love the song Let's Hear It for the Boy. That's the one that I love from that. You know, Denise Williams' song, you know. So, it's a favourite, very popular film, of course. One of the shows which has become popular from the film, the original film, And the last few minutes, just to say that in Cardiff, Welsh National Opera is at the Wales Millennium Centre with Deflated Mouse and Der Rosen Cavalier, you know, so testing my pronunciation of the...
It always amazes me how much is going on in Swansea and the surrounding
tremendous amount. But coming back to Sunset Boulevard, it really is a scoop for Swansea, and to think that Ria has managed to twist the arms of the producers to bring it here. It was and it will be coming to the Wales Millennium Centre in the early part of next year. But the Grand has got it as one of the very first theatres where the productions. It's very important. Some would say it's the biggest show that's ever been in Swansea.
Wow.
I think they putting the financially, etc. It's the biggest show to come to Swansea. It's definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest.
Look forward to seeing it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. After the break, we're going to be having a chat with Andy Morse and hearing some more great music from him. Stay with us here at Bay.
Welcome back to your final part of Today on BayTV. I'm Liz Cairns and this is Henry Darby Cook, and we're going to be chatting with Andy after some more music from him.
I dragged myself through hell, held you up and wished you well, but I was not ever on your mind. Your mind, I couldn't stand myself as all your friends drank to their wealth. You find out, but that's alright. It's alright. I learned to stand alone from all of those times when I was waiting for you. When I was sad at home, wondering where you were, everyone else knew. And I said my last goodbye. I swallowed your last lie. Like how your love stayed out, early hours plagued with doubt. You ripped my heart out, but that's alright. It's alright. I learned to stand alone from all of those times when I was waiting for you. When I was sad at home, wondering where you were, everyone else knew. And I said my last goodbye. I swallowed your last lie. When the lights go out, do you have your doubts? Did you go too far? Do you even know who you are? From your great escape to your great mistake, left with blood in your hands and all that you could take. I learned to stand alone from all of those times when I was waiting for you. When I was sad at home, wondering where you were, everyone else knew. And I said my last goodbye. And I swallowed your last lie. This is my last goodbye. This is my last goodbye. This is my last goodbye.
Wow, what a voice. Come over and join us, Andy. You enjoyed that, Liz?
Brilliant.
It was really good.
Thanks very much.
It's such an amazing sound. Like in here for us, especially, like we didn't need the microphone and the speakers. So
Have a unique voice as well.
Yeah.
And the way you go up so high and then, but still the tone as well. It's
Thanks
brilliant.
very much. Thank you.
what inspires you to begin with?
Lots of bad relationships, mainly.
It's the best writing, I always say that.
So you write it all yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I write a lot of stuff with a guy called Gareth Lewis as well from my band Fever Sparks, and we write with other artists, up-and-coming artists and established artists as well.
Do you find that an easy process?
It was difficult at first getting used to the sort of dynamic of it, but yeah, we've done quite a lot of it now, so it's coming natural to us.
Awesome. So, have you got a busy summer like most artists?
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of gigs with different bands I'm in, and writing sessions and that sort of thing, and playing in the Fringe Festival in Swansea in September.
Awesome.
That's the first full band gig for Fever Sparks, the writing project that I've got.
Oh, great. So where else can people see you kind of coming up?
Playing in White's in the Uplands Tavern. Where else? Plenty of gigs all around Swansea, the main usual venues in Swansea.
Awesome. So, Anything you want to ask, Liz?
I was going to say, if they wanted to find you, are you on anywhere online and that?
Yeah, the songs are on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud under Andy Morse and Fever Sparks.
Brilliant. So they could look in there to find out where you're going to be next then?
Yeah, we update that all the time with gigs and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
So how would you describe the scene at the moment in Swansea and South Wales?
It's good and it's getting better all the time. There's a lot more original bands and a lot more venues popping up.
And how important is that for the area?
It's when I first started, there were loads of original venues, but it's all gone now to, it went a few years ago more to cover bands and that sort of thing, but there's a lot more venues popping up now, giving people a chance to do their first gigs, you know, doing original stuff and supporting that more. It's good.
Yeah.
It's important, isn't it?
Really, yeah. And it's like Uplands, for example, just that kind of area. It's such like a creative and stuff going on.
Yeah, loads going on up there.
Yeah, it's well known for that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Definitely.
So is there a future album on the way?
I've got an EP with Fever Sparks, the band I'm in, which is due out the end of the summer. And we're going to launch that at the Heist on High Street when we're playing in the Fringe Festival.
Awesome. And is that a similar sound, or is that kind of a different dynamic because you're in a band to what we're hearing at the moment?
Similar sort of feel, but more sort of rock-based and acoustic-based.
Yeah.
But some of those songs are on the EP.
Oh, awesome.
Brilliant.
And so in a live situation, how does it differ to kind of what you're doing for us here today?
More dynamics, I suppose. It's a rock-based project, but there are quieter parts as well, and a lot more to it. There's a lot of slide guitar, which Gareth sort of adds to it, giving it more like a sort of rootsy soul country sort of sound as well.
Awesome. Great. Well, with that, do you want to go and get ready?
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Wow, it's been a great show, hasn't it? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, definitely. It can't get over how quick it's flown, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thank you to all our guests today and to all our viewers for watching us, especially those that have tuned in for the film coming up next on Bay.
And that is Cone of Silence, starring Peter Cushing.
It's a good one. Keith was just telling me it's definitely one to watch today after
There you
this. And with that, take it away, Andy.
Every step you take takes you further away. Heavy price to pay for the cost of fame. Drowning in conceit when you're not swimming in lies. Walking away with a fistful of empty goodbyes. Would you walk away into the crowd you hate? Would you walk away under a cloud? Now you're getting nowhere fast. Empty eyes in a heart that sinks in regret. Broken bones and an empty soul after land. Shaking hands in the back of a rusted car. Hopeless plans and a life that looks like a scar. Would you walk away into the crowd you hate? Would you walk away under a cloud? Were you walking away? Would you walk away into the crowd? Now you're getting nowhere fast. Two black eyes and a kiss that tastes like a kick. Stumbling on till you fall through to the end of the list. Hanging from grace by a noose that's holding you back. Looking behind while a green light